Judge Aileen Cannon. She has dismissed the Trump classified documents case because the special counsel prosecution is in violation of the appointments clause of the Constitution. Of course, the special counsel in the case may appeal this case, so the saga may not be over yet, but that breaking news just coming into us right now at CNN. Let me go to CNN's Caitlin Polance. She joins me now. Caitlin, I know this is a very sudden development with lots of implications. What can you tell us?
Yeah, Judge Aileen Cannon is closing the classified documents case against Donald Trump. This was charged about a year ago in the Southern District of Florida, where prosecutors from the special counsel's office, so an office that was appointed by Merrick Garland for the particular reason to look at this in some sort of protected, independent way from the rest of the department. They brought more than 30 charges against Donald Trump for mishandling classified records after the presidency and for obstructing justice, that investigation, trying to keep them when the government wanted them back. Judge Cannon is now saying that prosecutor doesn't have the ability to bring this case in court, and thus it must be dismissed. What she's doing here, Jim, is very much in line with what Justice Clarence Thomas on the Supreme Court said in a concurrence just a few days ago in the presidential immunity case. He wrote about the special counsel's office and Judge Cannon's finding here. The reason that this case can't go before her is, she says, this special counsel just doesn't have the power in the way that she reads the Constitution. Thus, it's done.
Yeah, Caitlin, I mean, reading what the judge says in this ruling, it says both the appointments and appropriations challenges as framed in the motion raise the following threshold question. Is there a statute in the United States Code that authorizes the appointment of Special Counsel Smith to conduct this prosecution? After careful study of this seminal issue, the answer is no. And it seems, she goes on to say, the executive's growing comfort in appointing regulatory special counsels in the more recent era has followed an ad hoc pattern with little judicial scrutiny. And so, I mean, she really is slamming the fact that there is a special counsel that's been appointed in all of this. But it makes you wonder, Caitlin, why she didn't raise this a while ago. I mean, how is this coming up now?
It's coming up now because she's just getting to it now. This is something that Trump's team had brought up to her months ago, and she just held a hearing on it just a few weeks ago in June before her, and she did seem to want to really look into, is there enough here for her to allow the special counsel case to move forward under the Constitution? And then we get that Thomas concurrence from the Supreme Court basically outlining that he doesn't believe, at least him, no other justices signed on to it, but at least Thomas didn't believe that the special counsel's office is appropriate. There have been, though, Jim, several other special counsel office prosecutions that people have tried to test this idea that there isn't the authority to bring in a special counsel to bring a case like this against anyone, let alone it be Donald Trump or not. And those cases have moved forward and gone to trial. This one, though, it's different. And Judge Aileen Cannon is ruling differently than other judges related to special counsel Jack Smith, and says no more in Florida.
Fascinating development, and it makes you wonder whether or not the special counsel of the Department of Justice may appeal this. I suppose that could happen as well. Is that right, Caitlin?
Very much so. Because this would be a final moment in this case, it is something the Justice Department may try to appeal, take it up to the circuit above her. But they're going to have a lot of things to do. They already are getting their ducks in a row again related to the presidential immunity decision and how that impacts the other federal case against Donald Trump in Washington, D.C. related to January 6th. They have a lot to figure out in the coming days on exactly what's next. It is a very new landscape for these criminal prosecutions of the former president.
Absolutely, and of course calls into doubt whether this case will ever go to trial. Caitlin Polance, thank you very much. And CNN's Kristen Holmes is live from Milwaukee for us. Any reaction from your end, Kristen?
Yeah, they are celebrating. Look, we are expecting a statement any moment now. This is happening in real time, but we, of course, will bring that to you as soon as we get it. But, Jim, we really cannot stress how big of a big deal this is how big of a deal this is for the former president and for his team. There were many around Donald Trump who saw this case as the most solid case against him. Remember, there are recordings of Donald Trump saying that he knew he had classified documents. He wasn't supposed to show them to anyone. There was evidence piling up against him, and his team really believed that this was probably the most significant case against him. So this being dismissed is a huge deal. Now, one of the things that they are pointing to is the fact that they had already believed that this case was not going to go to trial before the election. Remember, this has been their tactic all along, to delay with the hope that Donald Trump was to be elected in November, and those federal cases against him, both this case and the January 6th case, could be dismissed by the former president once he was back in office. Obviously now, as we noted, they can appeal, but they wouldn't even have to go that far because this case has been dismissed. Now they're waiting to see what the next steps are going to be. Obviously, they believe that the special counsel's office is going to appeal this, but this is a huge victory for the former president when it comes to his legal issues. Jim.
All right, Kristen, let us know when you get reaction. We appreciate it. And CNN legal analyst Michael Moore, he joins me now on the phone. Michael, let me get your reaction to all of this. I mean, obviously, there's been a lot of criticism for months now that Judge Cannon was sort of in over her head in handling this case. Did she simply look for an off-ramp here to dump this case?
Well, I'm glad to be with you. I do think she probably looked for a way to get out of it. I think it's a little bit too cute by half to do a dismissal order at the beginning of the Republican National Convention where Trump will be nominated. In fact, she was nominated by him. And this seems to be just a little bit too cute. And I will tell you, I have no question that Justice Department Special Counsel's Office will appeal the case because this is the kind of dismissal that would have broader implications. We're not talking about dismissal because there was some particular unique fact in this case versus any other case. This is painting with a little bit broader brush. And so she'll see an appeal of her decision taken to the 11th Circuit. And the 11th Circuit has been somewhat critical of prior decisions she's made. It's a very conservative circuit here. And then ultimately that decision would be appealed, whichever way it goes, I'm sure would be appealed to the Supreme Court. And there has already been sort of an invitation, if you will, by Justice Thomas to question the appointments of special counsel and this type of thing. So this is sort of the beginning now with the briefing and the appeal schedule, but quite a significant decision at a unique time. And again, I'm not reading in ulterior motives, but the timing coinciding with the beginning of the convention is certainly unique, especially for a case which sat for months without any orders and decisions by this particular district judge.
It's really extraordinary, and for those viewers who are just tuning in, we just want to recap that the judge in the classified documents case has dismissed that case, saying that the special counsel prosecution is in violation of a portion of the Constitution. That's her reading of it. It's also a reading from Justice Clarence Thomas. But obviously, Michael, a lot of other legal scholars, lawyers like yourself, feel very differently about this. And we've seen other special counsel investigations happen in other cases. And so what makes this one different? Is it any different?
Well, it may not be any different. I mean, I think, there's an argument about whether or not the special counsel here was under any oversight and this type of thing. And I'm sure that, as we're getting the opinion and sort of digesting it, we'll see some of those arguments. But, if you think about it, there's already another special counsel case that has moved forward out of Washington. And so clearly there's going to be a conflict in the district court opinions. There appears to have already been at least a circuit decision out of the D.C. Circuit, which affirmed the case moving forward. And then the Supreme Court, that's when we got into this whole immunity question. So when you have conflicts between district courts and conflicts between circuits, that's what makes cases right for appeal, certainly to be considered on a broader level at the U.S. Supreme Court ultimately, and that's where we're going to end up. But the stakes are high because the special counsel's office has been a good tool to look at misconduct, allegations of misconduct, prosecutions that need to be handled in a sort of apolitical manner. She's now brought all that into question with this order. So again, I don't think that this affects the timing of the trial happening before the election because that was not going to happen anyway. we were just not going to see this trial before the election. But what it does is it throws shade, if you will, over other prosecutions by the special counsel's office, and certainly makes the case then move forward to the Supreme Court, where they may accept it more openly, especially given their recent ruling on presidential immunity.
Right, which I guess raises the question, Michael, about the January 6th case, Special Counsel Jack Smith's other case that is before Judge Chutkan here in Washington. Might the Trump attorneys say we want to do the same thing that was done in the classified documents case?
My guessing is that the laser printers are already going on the motions and the notices to tell Judge Chutkan that in fact there has been a decision that has found this to be, unconstitutional, and that she should accept this as supplemental authority, or at least certainly persuasive supplemental authority, as she looks at a motion to dismiss based on the same grounds in Washington. And that sort of gives you an idea of the impact of what can happen. So to go from a little courthouse down in South Florida, and now this is like shooting a missile to the courthouse in Washington, D.C. On that case. So we'll certainly see, but there's no question the case is going to be appealed, and that also that Judge Chutkan will be dealing with motions to dismiss based on what we saw the judge do down in Judge Cannon do down in Florida.